I would pay to compete at the Olympia this year. I honestly would, and take nothing from it, because right now, like what I get from like the gratification of like winning, the effort I'm putting in is worth so much more than what I can pull from it. But so that's kind of like just where my really head is right now, because with my health issues, I don't know how long I'll be able to compete, and I would just want to like stay in this moment and enjoy that as much as I possibly can while I can.
Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 50. And because it's such a special episode, we have classic Olympia champion Chris Bumstead on It's Just Bodybuilding. Dusty.
Yes.
Good to see you, my brother.
You too. 50.
50. 50th
0.
episode. 50th episode. I'm wearing my Dino's gym shirt to celebrate that they're training in the UK now.
Nice. I have one of those. I don't have the hat you're wearing though, but I have.
Yeah, that's funny. They're packaged in the mail.
This will never end until I have one. Just so you know, every episode.
A bunch of new West Coast stuff got stuffed in a bag for you last week, so don't worry, my friend.
I feel good about that.
I felt guilty after the last episode.
Well, you saw the tears.
Yeah, you really made me feel bad. I was like, oh my God, what terrible.
He is hurt. I bet you Bumstead has one. Fuck.
Yeah, well, Bumstead does have one.
You see how this works? This guy comes in late and just steals the fucking. It's the mustache, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a fucking mustache.
He's right there in front of me, and he's impossible to say no to.
Exactly, when he has a porn stash. So yeah.
Yeah. So remember, everybody, like, share, subscribe, and comment on our shit. Help us out with the algorithms. And because you know that some of the stuff we say is going to be hard on us in the algorithms. So we need all the help we can get. So we're going to bring Bumstead on?
Yeah, we better do it before he changes his mind.
Let's roll him in while he's still trapped. This is where we turn it over to Scott McNally. C-Bum.
How's it going?
Welcome to the show. You're on with Dusty Hanshaw and myself. It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 50. So thank you for being a special guest on a special show.
No, I appreciate it. Episode 50 sounds like a big deal. You guys have been going for like a year now, I guess. Appreciate you guys having me on.
I said we're almost there and people are still watching, so we figured, fuck it, let's go for this.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
For some reason, the numbers are still going up, so we haven't quite figured out why, but we're just kind of continuing to do it every week.
Just tricking people into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So first off, it was great to see you. You were just out here training at West Coast Iron for a while, and great to see you. And I got a chance to train with you, and man, was everyone at the gym jealous. all the young guys, everyone coming up. Oh man, you got to train with Chris. Oh, like you might have given me more cred than anyone I've ever trained with.
That's a lot of people.
That's pretty surprising, to be honest, but definitely grateful for that. I have a thing when I'd like to travel, and I went up to Calvin too. I was like, who like probably trains the hardest in this gym? And he's like, oh, Ron. I filmed him. He like makes people throw up on legs. He trains harder than most people. I was like, and whenever I travel, like whether it's like Nick Walker in Jersey or like some of the big guys, I'm like, okay, that's who I want to train with. So right. I was pumped to train with you too, and it was a good workout.
Yeah, no, he went hard, man. I had to make a post after, and I said, I don't know if you saw it, Dusty. I said, I know he's pretty, but he trains like an ugly motherfucker. And I knew that Dusty, of all people,
making us proud.
Following in Dusty's footsteps.
Yeah. So tell everybody, let's start with the fact that, you're the best in the world at what you do. And you were locked out of your gym for a few months. I mean, what was that like for a guy in your position?
I mean, we were super lucky, and I'm very grateful. We had a friend with like a basement gym, which limited stuff, but like well more than we needed. There was like a Smith machine. We bought extra weights to put on it because he didn't have much. There was one dumbbell that was 125 pounds. We had two that were 100, and then it was like 80 and below kind of. So we had a lot of stuff to work with, and we just kind of stuck with the basics. It was definitely a little unmotivating being down there. And with the Olympia getting pushed back, that kind of like stunted my motivation a bit more, being stuck inside, not going out. So it was difficult for sure. But I was training with my brother-in-law, Ian Valier, who was still locked in, prepping, believing he was going to compete in 12 weeks or so at Tampa. So he was gunning full strength. And when he's training his ass off, it's not hard to train your ass off beside him. So definitely was extremely lucky to be in that position that I was in.
Yeah. I know Dusty and I also had, access to gyms. We had the full deal. We weren't held back at all. And I know we both kind of felt a little guilty for, everyone else who just didn't have the access to a full gym. And I imagine, I don't know if you had a little bit of survivor's guilt too for just having a gym at all.
I mean, a little bit, but also like, if you have it, you're going to use it, you can't, It's not like I'm not going to go to the gym because I feel guilty for other people.
Yeah. No. But it's the empathy towards the other bodybuilders. We could see them slowly taking up other weird hobbies to try to replace their, lots of collecting going on and lots of all sorts of weird shit. Did you do anything different when everything shut down? Like, did you get into anything? Did you game your ass off, or like, what did you do?
I did game my ass off for the first little bit. Yeah, I never liked Call of Duty, but this Warzone thing started to blow up, and I'm horrendous at video games. But my friends were like pushing it all day long. No one could leave their house. So me and like 3 of my best friends from high school, we were all online together every day, gaming through the odd hours of the night. So that was my like escape at nighttime to get through it.
Now, do you have a screen name where people know it's you?
It's the same with my Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have people do you go to play them in games and they're like, holy fuck?
I've had it happen like a few times, but honestly, every time I'm in like a private party with my friends,
right?
So I can't hear anybody else. But I have a couple hundred unseen friend requests of people like, "Are you Mr. Olympia?" and like sending me friend requests trying to get in the games and just shit. It's pretty funny.
I remember Phil Heath was telling me that I think it was Madden Football, and he was using like his old Muscle Tech name from when he was at Muscle Tech, but everyone knew it was him. So he would just get, every time he was playing, he'd just get all these requests because he'd play open, like, everyone could see him. And he said he had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Imagine being a little kid and just like opening up Madden to play a game and like a bodybuilding fan and you're playing against Mr. Olympia Phil Heath. Like, that'd be pretty fucking cool.
Trash talking him.
Yeah, just chirping him.
Yeah.
Probably gets trash talked a lot on there, yeah.
Yeah. What about you? How do you deal with trash talk? I mean, you're the champ. You must that comes with a lot. It's not all good, is it?
Not all of it, no. But I don't know. It's hard to say. We're not sure if it's lucky how I was raised just coming into this. I have a very good mindset to it. Part of it is I don't really take either side of the spectrum. Like if random people are pumping me up and like telling me I'm so good, I'm going to win the Olympia or I should have won or whatever, they're saying positive, I don't really take that into account that much either. So then when something negative comes in, I don't really take that into account too much either. If like my sister says I'm being a piece of shit or Ian tells me my fucking glutes look fat, then I'll probably be like, fuck, okay, I look like shit. But people online, I just kind of take everything very lightly and I don't read into it much at all. I've been lucky to like, just the way I was raised, I guess, and the morals and values and the people who I keep around close and that I do trust in their opinions, it allows me to not put too much emphasis on random strangers on the internet. Yeah,
the fact you said you're playing games with your best friends, you're still your same best friends from high school.
Yeah.
Like that sort of stuff. So do you have, like, just looking back a couple years, like I remember when you were a junior, like you were a junior at Nationals. I remember seeing you on stage and being like, I mean, that junior class that you did in 2015 was just ridiculous.
That was insane. Yeah.
The greatest junior class of all time. It was you and Regan and Cody Drobot, the top 3.
Yeah. 1, 2, and 3.
And you were all completely shredded and looked amazing. And I remember watching that class and going, Jesus, they could give fucking pro cards for the juniors. and it was like no surprise that like 2 years later, 1 year later, you get your pro card? 2016?
I got my card in 2016, yeah.
Yeah. So 1 year later.
What year did you get yours? When 15. You were at Nationals? Yeah, 15. I was a junior in 15, then the next year I got my pro card, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. But I just, I remember seeing you go up like that. Is there something, Dusty and I can probably both agree on this, but we come from a different generation. So for you, was there a little bit of extra satisfaction that you got your pro card as an open men's bodybuilder at the North Americans?
At the time, like, there wasn't a lot, but over the years, now that I compete at a classic, I definitely like telling people, like, yeah, I got my card in open bodybuilding. It does feel like a subtle flex on some of the guys who maybe got an even men's physique, moved up to classic, or got it in classic. But yeah,
right.
For sure.
Yeah, and how do you feel? Like, do you ever wrestle with the whole concept of not getting heavier? You know, being 230 again. Does it frustrate you about, you know, does it make you wonder if you can improve?
Honestly, not that much, because I've improved very slightly over the years, and like everything I do hasn't changed a lot. I'm just allowed to, like, I still have to push myself harder and harder training otherwise, but everything else I put into it, I don't push that much harder. And I've always been slightly under the weight cap, where I know next year I can come in leaner and put on 3 or 4 pounds. And like at this point, putting on 3 or 4 pounds exactly where I want to is pretty fucking hard. So it's a little frustrating, but I also, because of some health issues I have, I normally end up taking like months off training and losing a bunch of weight. And then I'm kind of like yo-yoing throughout the year, where I lose a bit and then I have to gain it all back. So for me, it kind of works out perfectly, and I have no want to be any bigger. Like, I like the way my physique looks. I would like my back and arms to come up a little bit, but other than that, I don't like have the drive to be any bigger of a bodybuilder.
That's a bonus. You get to train your ass off, and you don't have to eat all the food, like,
Exactly.
to grow. I mean, everyone knows that's the worst part. It's like the training is fun, but when you're looking at a plate full of food that you do not want to eat, and you have to, that sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing. People are like, isn't it hard not to grow? I'm like, I maybe in my off season have 1 meal, 2 meals a day, maybe on like the high days where I'm like, fuck, I don't want to eat this. Whereas you're an open bodybuilder, that's every meal for 8 months of the year, pretty much. Yep. Like I see my brother-in-law, I see you guys, everyone you're doing, you're stuffing the food down, and I just get to work my ass off, which I love to do, and eat a lot of food, not too much food, you know. So yeah, it's a balance.
When you look at Ian's physique, like when you guys are training together, do you ever kind of visualize in your head, okay, what would I look like if I was doing what he was doing?
I've tried to a few times, wonder what I would look like, because whenever you see kind of taller, bigger guys put on that kind of size, you never really know which way it's going to go. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely crossed my mind. It's not something I want to do, but I wish there was like a computer program that could just like analyze what I would look like at like 280 pounds or something.
Well, that'd be 200. Like, you'd be more than that, because isn't Ian, what's Ian, 300 off season?
He's like high 290s, yeah.
And he's what,
pretty lean too.
5'10"?
5'9", I believe.
5'9"? Yeah. So you're 6'1", right?
Yeah.
So you'd be like 320.
Yeah.
And lean.
I mean, dude, that would just be, because you're like a really big 255-pound guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know most people think 255 pounds is a big guy, but in the bodybuilding world, dime a dozen guys are 250, right?
Everyone's up to 250.
Everyone's 250, at least at some point. So, but with your frame and your taper and the fact that you're lean, you know, when you're in the gym training, like I remember there was a whole bunch of people at the gym were like, what does he weigh, 280? And I'm like, no way. He's like 250, 255 right now. And they're like, no way. Like, people just couldn't believe how light you were compared to the visual that they see because of the frame, and you know, you're a big dude.
Yeah, for sure. People ask me that all the time. They think I'm so heavy just because, like, I wear big shirts too, and just I have like wide clavicles and like bigger shoulders. And every year, the max I've ever gotten was 265, and it was kind of a sloppy 265. And now every off season, I get to high 250, 260, but I try and be like a little bit leaner every year, so I don't really look like I'm growing, but like. 2 years ago when I was 260, I was fat. This year I'll be 260 with abs. So it's like I don't want to push that weight anymore, but I'm trying to do it with better condition.
When you left the first Olympia you did, you got second to Breon.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was very close, I remember everyone was like, "Oh my God, what a show!" When you left that night, what was on your mind?
That was probably the show that changed everything for me. I was still in like university at that point, and that caused me to drop out of school. I was like, fuck it, I'm taking everything to this. It literally took me coming second at that Olympia for me to believe that this is what I was meant to do, and I can be the best of the world at this. And I just had to drop everything and start working for it. So it was that was like the biggest turning moment in my bodybuilding career where I just, like a lot of people, like they want to turn pro and that, and I was just like going one step at a time. I was like, okay, I can turn pro. Okay, cool. I could probably do good at a pro show now that Classic's open. Like, holy shit, I won a Classic show. I could go to the Olympia. And then when I came second, I was blown out of the water. I was like, holy fuck, wasn't expecting it at all, really. And that was just like, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. Drop everything. You got to become Mr. Olympia.
Right. Awesome. So then fast forward us a year to getting second again, but being far from your best.
Yeah,
how did you feel that year?
That was an interesting year, and this is like a kind of a cool thing where like every year I've been happy with how it's looked, even though I didn't progress in that year, because that was the hardest prep I've ever had to been through, probably the hardest thing I've ever had to been through. I was hospitalized at 4 weeks out for about a week, and I was in there eating a couple egg salad sandwiches and just kind of stuck in there because I had like an autoimmune disease that was causing me to retain a lot of water, and they had no idea what was going on. And that whole prep, they had me taking, I'm blanking right now. Really strong diuretic, loop diuretic.
Like Lasix?
Lasix, yeah. I was taking Lasix for the last 4 weeks or so and was just drained of energy. Had nothing in me. I looked like I lost all my muscle because there's no water in me. I just looked flat and like soft and just had to keep dieting and keep training and pushing through. And I was waiting on the diagnosis from the biopsy that I had done to come back, which came back the day before I left for Vegas. I had to go into my doctor's the day before I was flying out, and then I was like, had to realize, depending on what he said, I might have to cancel my flight and not show up. And the whole time I just had to like keep my head down and like pushing through and training it. I went in, he's like, yeah, so you have an autoimmune disease. It's manageable. We're just going to have to like keep testing you throughout. We can put you on meds right now to bring it down, but we don't want to get you up to this high point, et cetera, et cetera. But you can, one more week of this bullshit, don't do anything stupid at the Olympia, but one more week of this isn't going to change anything. So if you want to take that risk and go to the Olympia, go for it. And I was like, fuck it. I've made it this far. Obviously, I'm going. So I was going into that, and I was terrified because I felt like I looked like shit personally. Obviously, when I've been someone who can come in pretty lean and dry on my shows, and I wasn't this year because my body just wasn't responding. So I didn't really practice posing at all because I didn't like looking at myself. I didn't even have the energy to. It was just like forcing myself into the gym every day. And I remember going on stage for prejudging and like shaking, like never before, just shaking out there because I was so nervous. I was like, I look like shit. Everyone knew I almost won last year. I'm young. I should be way better this year. I look worse, blah, blah. And then I went out there. I remember trying to like flex my glutes in a back shot, and they're just shaking because I can't squeeze it. And then I calmed down a little bit, as you do when you're on stage, and I go back, and I always call Ian right after I get off, and he's like, man, like, you actually look fucking good. Like, just fucking hold your confidence. You look way better than I thought. Like, I think you can still, like, hold your own up there. And that kind of, like, built this confidence on me. Went back out there. They did mandatories. They kept me and Brian again out 1 and 2 up there. And that was just, like, hit me with confidence. Everything changed. I felt better. Posing was better. And I got off stage and just lost it, started crying. My family snuck past security, and like that prejudging moment right there was just like everything was just done, and I was just so happy that I had made it that far. I hadn't completely shit the bed. I didn't think I was going to win, but I just felt so like proud that I had made it that far and not completely shit the bed. So just so much emotions kind of rushed out, and after that I didn't even care what happened. But it was a scary prep, but the reward at the end was like so amazing. It was grateful. I remember coming back from that show and everything, just being so happy and proud, just like getting my health back and just like feeling good about it and ready to do it again next year.
That's awesome.
So what did you have to, so what do you have to do? Like, what are the main things you have to do to make sure that autoimmune disorder doesn't kick up again?
A lot of it's kind of stress and luck, essentially. Like, it can just happen. So like managing stress, not pushing anything like too hard. Like, if I'm like, they want my diet's usually a little bit longer, and I try and stay leaner in the off season, so I'm not like a fat 270 and pulling down to 230 really quick or anything. It tries to be very gradual, stay lean throughout the off season. But a lot of it is managing stress, making sure my blood pressure never like gets too high because it's a kidney thing that affects me. I go in and I get blood work done every 4 months throughout the year, and I was getting it done every 3 weeks during prep last year, just monitoring it. If anything starts to go off, the doctor will adjust it then what we need to do. So a lot of it's kind of monitoring, managing stress, and hoping. Do you
know what factors they're looking at on your blood work? Looking at your GFR, or are they looking at your creatinine levels? Like, what is
looking at really everything with kidneys. So creatinine, GFR. I'll do a 24-hour urine collection So I like pee in a jug for 24 hours. Everything goes in there, and they analyze how much of it there is, the content of it, if there's any blood in my urine, like protein amount, all that stuff.
Wow. Okay. That's right up Dusty's alley.
No, I do. I like the idea. The thing that I'd like though is the push. Is, as you know, in bodybuilding, the big issue we have is no one wants to. I always say bodybuilders don't do blood work because they don't want to know.
100%. Yeah.
Because they already know, and it's like for some reason they think that ignorance is bliss. So I think that's why it's important. Someone who has an autoimmune disease that they're dealing with, if you know the answers to the test by having blood work, you can keep rolling. You know, versus these guys who screw up their kidneys to the point that they're done. I get that all the time. I'll get blood work sent to me, and they're like, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "No, I can't fix this." Like, if you'd have called me 2.5 years ago, probably could have managed this. You know, so yeah, that's something I think more people need to pay attention to, because you didn't find out about this and then go, "Oh, well, I'm fine now then. See ya."
Yeah.
You know.
And I definitely learned that the hard way that year, because earlier on in prep, probably 8 weeks out, I remember I was traveling to, I was in LA with my sister competing, and my shins were really swollen. I had a lot of edema in them, and I was like, "Oh, it's just the weather. It's just flying. It'll go down." Like, came back home.
That's how I was for 20 years when I was 320. I'd water my ankles all off season.
I was like dieting, leaning, and they were just like getting more and more water. I came home, a little bit more came, and then one day I went to the beach and like chilled in the sun, came home, went to bed, and the next morning my legs were like, I had no knee. They were just like huge all the way down. I'd put on like 15 pounds of just water, and it was just sitting in my legs like that. And I was still just like, oh, maybe it's an infection. Maybe I'll go get antibiotics. Just like avoiding everything.
You did not want to know.
I didn't know. And then finally, like, I think I was hiding it from everyone. Finally, I was like told Ian how severe it was. He's like, "You fucking idiot. What are you doing? Go to the hospital right now." He sent me to the hospital, and then that's when I stayed there for a week, and they kind of figured everything out. And then I was like, "Okay, yeah, stop avoiding that shit. It's gonna be there regardless. So fix it."
It's not going anywhere.
No, it's not.
So, okay, take us to. I didn't actually have the intention of walking you through these, but take us to. We're on a roll here.
We never know what we're doing.
Take us to the kind of the beginning of your last prep. You had the tough prep. You're getting ready to go to your third Olympia. And are you kind of worried it's going to flare up again? Like, is that on your mind the whole time? Or did you mind
terrified. I was terrified. And that was a huge obstacle for me, this prep. I had a lot of fear. My friends with me and everything, my girlfriend was there with me, and they would always see me going down, and I'd sit there and just touch my ankle and my shins, and I would just push it. Like
every day.
100 times a day, I would just reach down subconsciously and just touch them, because it was always just kind of scared. Like, one day I'm going to touch it, it's going to be swollen, and I'm done. And I was terrified of that like the entire way. And it was just when you have that kind of stress, your body doesn't respond as well to everything. And considering stress is something that causes your autoimmune to be worse, it definitely wasn't going to help it. So it was kind of like a cycle of just like shit you get put through. But somehow I just kind of kept my head down and kept pushing through. And it was like there wasn't anything in me that was going to give up. I would have fucking hated myself if my fear had let me not compete. I knew how close I was the last 2 years. I was like, if I don't get sick and I can put in the work I can, I know I can win. I knew I could. If I was that close with such a shitty year. So I just kind of kept my head down and kept pushing through. So
you're in the hotel on the night before the show, and you know you made it. Right? You made it.
Yeah.
You know nothing's going to go wrong. You're hours away from the stage. What's the mindset at that point? Like, what's Ian saying to you the way you looked?
Ian was fine. It was probably a few days before when I flew in, and I wasn't that dry. I wasn't looking great. And then I flew in, and he had me just like chugging water down, doing a bunch of cardio. I got into the gym, was hot as hell in Vegas. He showed up a day after me, and we posed in the morning, and I just randomly woke up. I had a great sleep. I just I don't know, something happened. I had a great sleep, pissed everything out at night, woke up just dry to the bone, looking great, still chugging water and everything. And I remember turning around, and there was 5 people. It was like Ian, my sister, some friends, and everyone sitting there watching, and they were like shocked how I looked, because they hadn't seen me look like that in like 3 years. And I was just like, that was the moment where like, holy fuck, I'm in it. We did it. We're here. Like, everything else is just kind of like keep it straight, get there. And Ian was just Ian doesn't really like to give a lot of, or at least me, a lot of positivity back. And I kind of feed off that in a good way. He's like, yep, you're doing good. We'll keep pushing. And I'm like, okay, I got to be better then. We can do more. And that's like how we feed off each other, and that works with me. So just kind of like A lot of excitement, though. There was a lot of excitement. I normally go in a lot more nervous to shows. And I was terrified all prep, but in that last week, I was just like excited. I knew I was there. The work had been done. My body was looking as good as it could, and I was just like jacked up, fired up to show it off.
What about now? Did you think you had won for sure before you heard before they said the name? Were you going out there? Did you have? I don't know. How are you thinking?
I honestly didn't think of that. Right.
So you were just
like
as surprised.
To think I'm lying, but I wasn't surprised, and I wasn't not surprised. I was literally just like doing my thing at like moment by moment. I was just like, go out there and pose your ass off, do your routine, fucking do this, and just like keep your head level. And I was like, I knew in the morning I had what it took to win. I was like, I can go out there and win this today. Just like fucking own the stage and do your thing. But I wasn't sitting there like, I know I won, or I don't think I won. It was just like, I don't know. It was cool. It was probably the most present I've ever been in my entire life. People talk about like being present in a moment. I'm not very good at that, but on this day I was, and I'm so grateful I was, because it was such an amazing experience to have that feeling and just feel like you're floating around. And it was crazy for sure.
I know what you mean. For you, with one thing I've always wondered is you've got, I mean, truthfully, and I'm one of them, and I mean we haven't even met, but I wanted you to win. And it's just because you have a look, and I think you carry yourself in the industry really, really well. I mean, I compare your professionalism to Flex Lewis, to Jay Cutler, and you're young, but just like Flex, I mean, even when he's winning his last show, nobody ever really reached that point where they wanted to see him lose. Yeah. Like, he was still the guy they wanted to win. And I mean, what's that like for you when you go into a show and it's like, I mean, it's not just like, it was like everyone won in the audience at the same time. I mean, I remember when you won, I was like, oh, thank fucking God. Because I mean, in the morning I was sure, but like you said, I mean, this is the best in the world. So you're not sure. You're just,
you never know. Yeah.
You're pretty sure. You know what I mean? So what's that like to realize that like you've got essentially a world of fans behind you? We all have fans, but I mean, there's no question that you've got one or two more than everyone else.
It's a pretty unreal feeling. I can't lie. And I have a lot of times where I don't really realize it. And then moments happen where I understand just like the magnitude of it all. And it humbles me. It makes me like so grateful. I don't even like, I remember seeing the crowd just like erupt and people being so excited. I could probably hear my family like screaming and crying in the background. And it was just like, it's really cool to have that much support. It's kind of hard to explain. It definitely helps me get through some stuff too. You kind of feel like an extra pressure, like you almost like this high expectation, this like this drive that people support and they're behind you. It's like, okay, I got to do it for them as well as myself. And that pressure sometimes got to me when I was younger, but at this point I definitely am able to use it to my advantage, and I'm grateful for it because I mean, one day no one's going to give a fuck about who I am or even know who I am. So right now I'm just kind of enjoying for it. And it's really hard to explain what it's like to have people kind of come up and like express how much you mean to them when they don't even know who you are and stuff. It's really cool.
For sure. Well, I remember when you won, I remember like I was there. So we were fucking yelling. And I remember obviously I expected all the Canadians to want you to win. Right. I thought, well, all of Canada's behind him. Mm-hmm. But then when he won and the whole arena exploded, I was like, oh, I guess all the Americans wanted him to, like, I was just kind of funny. I was looking at it as like Canada, USA, you know, and then everyone was just happy. And I was like, oh, you know, and it's not like and the weird thing is like Dusty's talking about, it's just because they love you. Like, they're nothing against the former champ. He was an amazing bodybuilder, but your fan base is just so huge.
It's something I don't really understand, and I just try and be grateful for it. I don't know what they see in me, but like, I mean, it's awesome. Definitely cool. I have no idea. It's weird.
I don't know. These companies just keep giving me money.
To be fair, there definitely wasn't everyone happy I won. There was still a decent amount of dispute of people kind of not thinking I should have, because Breon's fucking amazing and always looks amazing. And if it was a bodybuilding show, he would have beat me. If it was a bodybuilding division, I think I'm pretty sure he would have beat me. But the whole classic physique division causes a little bit of like difficulty to see the difference between like being classic or just a smaller bodybuilder. So there was a lot of dispute of people who weren't happy, but both sides. It
was when I say everyone, it was a volume thing.
A lot of people, yeah.
It was a laugh. I know. I remember when Jay beat Ronnie too, the crowd exploded. But I remember it was like, 40% of the crowd was pretty upset leaving that arena.
Yeah.
It was loud though. So, man. So what about how you see yourself as a businessman? And how do you see yourself? Like, we're all trying to extract a living from bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So I know, the old school way it was get a supplement contract and win prize money. But I mean, what's your big plan?
In like business wise?
Yeah, like get the most out of bodybuilding. You said someday no one's going to give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's got that due date.
I have a few like passions in business I would like to kind of explore of stuff that sponsorships and stuff come through. And to be honest, I've never been one to give a fuck about having like a lot of money. I already make more money than I really know what to do with. So I just kind of like save it and go with it. But I have some passions I would like to build and create like my own businesses of like stuff that I'll probably do down the line. But so far I've really just kind of like focused on competing, and it's never really been about what I can milk from it at all. And like, I know a lot of people are upset of like Classic and how much they make and shit. And it might sound like this is what you should say, but I actually like don't give a fuck if I made zero money. I would pay to compete at the Olympia this year. I honestly would, and take nothing from it, because right now, like what I get from like the gratification of like winning, the effort I'm putting in and seeing people like give a fuck about me is worth so much more than what I can pull from it. But so that's kind of like just where my really head is right now, because with my health issues, I don't know how long I'll be able to compete. And I would just want to like stay in this moment and enjoy that as much as I possibly can while I can. Mm-hmm. But down the line, I would like to kind of like branch off a little bit into some owning my own business stuff and stop trying to promote someone else's stuff, because obviously it's a lot more fun to do whatever the hell you want and push something in the direction you want to do it. So we'll figure that out when time comes.
How are you doing? I mean, and this is kind of a personal question for me, because I didn't realize how much the travel, the fans, the expos, like, when you're doing them, sometimes it's like, oh, fuck, this is exhausting. Well, since we all lost it this year, I've realized, like, fuck, I love that shit. Like, how's that been for you, like, essentially being home? Like, I mean, because for me, I know it's just, I've realized, like, holy shit, I better enjoy every one of these things I have a chance to do again, because I lost them for a year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a little out of touch.
I'm definitely in the same boat as you. And in the middle of it, I was kind of like, fuck, like, I don't want to travel again, traveling every week. I'm like, I just want to stay home. And then as soon as you're home for 2 months, you're like, fuck, I want to travel. And especially this being my first year as like the champ, Mr. Olympia, it would have been fun to kind of like go out and meet people and do a bunch of things as the champ. Because it kind of took like 6 months for it to settle in that I had actually even won the Olympia, and me to understand what had just happened. Right. And by then we were in shutdown and I didn't get to go do anything. So I've definitely started to miss that. And it's one of those things that quarantine has made me more grateful for. So can be happy for that. But hopefully stuff opens up eventually and we can get back to doing that. Who knows when though?
I got a lot of people asking, when are you moving out here?
To BC? A lot of people, or this Calvin?
Well, there's a little rumor floating around the gym that there are people are trying to talk you into moving out here. So people are asking me.
Ron, it's not a rumor if you start it, just for the record.
Right.
I mean, we'll see. When I was down there, I had a great time, and I might be coming back later this summer just to finish off the off season in a gym like that. But right now, I'm planning on moving eventually and just trying something out, but that'll definitely be after the Olympia this year. The plan was always to go somewhere hot because I'm not a fan of the cold, so I was going to go like down south. But if I stay in Canada, BC is definitely going to be where I'm at.
If you went to the States, where would you go?
I was thinking some places like Texas, like Austin, even Arizona or something like that. Just somewhere warm that's not LA, pretty much.
Oh, so I'm like, oh, that's such a great. I love when people are like, I can't wait to get to LA. I'm like, oh, you've never been. That's cool.
Oh, you'll have fun for a month and then
exactly. I see you've never been. This will be interesting.
Oh man, yeah, for sure. How many questions you got, Dusty? Let's rapid fire him with a few of these. So just so you know, I got more questions for you than ever on any episode we've ever done. Like, I haven't even been able to, there's no way I can even look at them all. Right, a lot of people wonder, ones. Yeah. Is the stash coming back for this year's Olympia?
That was asked 3 times.
That's definitely coming back. It is.
All right, the stash.
I'm hiding with the beard right now, but I could not do the stash this year. It'll be.
Is it going to be the same stash, or are you changing it?
I think it'll be the same. Yeah, I got to keep it. I like keeping like a clean cut, kind of classy look still with a subtle stash.
Classic, like the type of mustache you'd see on the side of like a soap box.
Yeah.
You know?
Brawny
Something
paper
trusty.
towel or something.
Yeah.
It's not a cop stash though. It's its own thing.
Well, a couple people called it a porn stash.
That's acceptable.
I got that a lot. Yeah, 9 porn stash. Yeah. A lot of the women did not like it, to be honest. They don't like the stash.
See, I joked that was your thing. You were like, listen, when you get to where I am in the looks department, you do whatever the fuck you want. People still accept it. All right, Ron, go.
Okay. What do you listen to when you train? What's your training music? Your favorite go-to squat song?
I listen to everything. My favorite go-to squat song is like Icky Thump or something, probably like Heavy Rock or something. That's normally what I go on leg day. I'll do like a kind of hard rock stuff, but I'll pile through like EDM, hip hop, old school mainly old school hip hop if I do, whether even like anything before 2010 probably. In the hip hop style, I had a phase where I'd listen to country music while I trained. I've really done it all, but normally heavy days are like rock and stuff. And then in the winter, I always end up in EDM for some reason.
In the winter, there's something about the depression.
Something like that, trying to lift me up.
We don't understand that in Scott. So I'm like, what's winter? That's weird.
That's funny.
All right, I got all the important ones. What's your favorite sneaker brand right now?
Oof. I really don't have one, to be honest. It was Adidas forever, and then Nike caught up, so it's between Adidas and a Nike.
Interesting. Okay. I'd like to hear what do you mean they caught up? You were like investigating the structure of the shoes, and they were researching.
I felt like Nike for a while was just doing like runners and just like basic shit, and Adidas was like the urban cool streetwear, like up to date, like Yeezys and all that shit kind of coming out, and then Nike started to do a lot more cooler shit.
How many real training partners have you had over the years, like real solid long-term training partners versus training alone?
That solid, probably Ian. And we don't even train together that often. I've been a pretty solo trainer a lot of my life, but Ian's probably the only one I've like consistently trained with for long periods of time. Right.
Okay. A lot of training alone.
Yeah.
Do you prefer that?
Usually I do. Yeah. I like being my own routine, my own schedule, and just kind of getting there and doing my own thing.
Are you really locked in on your schedule? Because I know like the last few years in Jay's career, my video guy does a lot of his videos as well, and he would say, Jay'd be like, all right, meet me at the gym at 11 p.m. We're going to go train. And then around 10, he'd be like, probably looking more like 1. And then next thing you know, they're rolling in at like 2 a.m. to finally train. So do you train at 11 a.m. every day or whatever your time is, or is it just kind of hit or miss on how you feel?
It's definitely how I feel. And that's why it's been hard to train with people, because people I train with will have jobs or do something, have shit going on, and I'm just like, well, I'm going to train at 1 tomorrow. And then I'm like, actually, no, I'm going to go at 5. Or I'm already there. It's 11 a.m. I'm going. So It's just whenever. Normally it's after 3 meals, but if I feel like going earlier or later that day or something comes up, I go later. So
yeah, that's why it's good. I have 2 partners that are similar situations to me, own their own business and stuff. So they're like, what time we train tomorrow? I'm like, well, I'll text you tomorrow. You know that. Like, I have no fucking idea.
Who knows? Yeah. When it happens, it'll happen.
Yeah, because if I don't sleep, so if I actually sleep, I'm like, dude, I slept 5 hours. We can go now. Let's fucking go.
Right. What? Who would you say would be your favorite bodybuilder of all time, and who motivated you to actually get into bodybuilding?
That's a tough one. One of my favorite physiques that I like look up to is Barry DeMay, because I think we kind of have similar structure and from that era and stuff. I love the way he posed, the way he held himself on stage, and he had a pretty crazy physique. Good looking dude too. And my favorite like bodybuilder has been like a 2013 Phil Heath kind of thing. I don't think, to me, that's like the best bodybuilder I've ever seen. Ronnie's the GOAT because he's huge, massive, but like how pristine Phil looked back then, to me, was just like perfection. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't that big, huge fan of like bodybuilding when I was young, where I looked up to a bunch of bodybuilders. I didn't have like magazines or anything kind of coming up. I just loved to train. So the first bodybuilder I knew who got me into it was really my brother-in-law, Ian. He saw me when I was young. You're like, dude, what the fuck? You're really fucking jacked for a high school kid. Like, and then he was dating my sister. We started training a bit, and a year after high school, he coached me to compete, and kind of the rest was history.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's like, I think you should probably consider following this path right here. It's going to be fine for you. Here's a good one. This kid has a lot of questions. What would be the best advice you'd give for a teenager that wants to pursue bodybuilding?
Oof. These questions are always hard.
And you can't say don't do it, because that's usually what I say.
Okay, aside from don't do it.
Stay in school.
I don't know. Make sure you actually fucking love it. Like, actually understand whether you love it and why you're doing it. Like, there's no reason that keeps me motivated. No, like, something I want to impress people, or I got bullied in school when I was younger, so I wanted to be bigger. There's no, like, little thing of why I want to do it. I just love doing what I do every single day. And that's what makes it easy for me to be motivated or not be motivated and still do it. Like, I don't believe in motivation. I just love what I do to the endless, so I'm going to fucking do it to the best of my ability. And unless you have that love for something, I don't think you're going to really succeed at it, because eventually you're going to be like, fuck, I don't want to do it today. And then you're not. Right. So if you're going to really push everything balls to the wall to the point where you're kind of risking your health, pushing things hard and everything, make sure you actually fucking love it, and you're not just going to tap out in a few years, because a lot of people do.
That's awesome. That's really true. I'm always amazed at how many people bitch and complain while they're dieting. I can't wait till this is over. I'm like, well, you can quit today.
Yeah, why are you doing it then?
Like, just stop. Stop. No one's making you. Yeah, I hear you. You got
what's your worst travel story?
Oh, Jesus.
My worst travel story. I can't remember exactly where I was going, but it was like a one-day shoot I had I think it was in Jersey. And I was living in the East Coast, like Halifax at this point, and you couldn't fly anywhere. So it was a 2-stop flight to get there. And I remember my flight got delayed the day of or something. So I showed up to the airport, it was an hour away from me. The flight got delayed that night to the next day, so I had to go back home, come back the next day. So I showed up a day late, and then all day we had to shoot for stuff, like stupid stuff with my old sponsor that was really annoying and poor scripted, and it was shitty, and I was tired. I didn't sleep the night before. I go back to the airport that same night, and then there was a snowstorm coming in where I was from. So I flew to my connecting flight or whatever, and then it was like 10 p.m. and they're like, oh yeah, your flight's delayed till 11. So I waited, and they're like, okay, your flight's delayed until midnight. We're still going to try and take off. I'm like, okay, yeah, your flight's delayed until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I was like, what the fuck do I do? And they're like, well, it's not canceled, so we can't give you anything. And I was like, okay. So I slept in the airport on like a chair and shit. And I had like no food. I had like probably a protein bar and something. Everything was closed. Slept on the plane in the seat in the airport. Next day, I go to my plane at like 5:30 a.m. or whenever we were supposed to get ready for it. And they're like, oh yeah, it got delayed till noon. And I was like, are you fucked? So I had to go and get like some shitty fast food. And then noon comes around, like, yeah, it got delayed till like 3 p.m. And then by like 3:30 we ended up leaving. But I was in the airport for almost 24 hours, just like waiting. And after a full day of shooting and everything being delayed the day before, and it was just a complete shit show. So I've actually slept in an airport 4 times. So I have a similar story to that. But I remember this one waking up the next day and it got pushed to late afternoon, and it was just a shit show. So it wasn't fun.
When's the last time you slept in an airport?
It's been 2 years now, to be honest.
So you were like Olympia level sleeping in airports.
I did a couple times, yeah. It took until last year. Actually, no, it was me winning the Olympia this year in November, where my flight got delayed overnight, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going in and getting a hotel. And I left and got a hotel.
I was going to say,
I'm the best in the world. I can afford a hotel.
Right? I'll go buy a fucking $80 night hotel.
You know that happened, Ron, when I was coming back from Germany, but the difference was Mutant's travel lady is unreal. I hit the ground in Chicago. I find out that my flight has been delayed again. Again, they're not giving any money because they don't want to use the word cancel. So it's delayed until the next morning. I can't find a hotel. So as soon as I'm about to hit my phone, it rings, some weird number, and it's middle of the night. I answer. It's the travel agent that Mutant uses. She's like, hey, go downstairs. This is the address you're going to. Your room's booked, paid, and you got to be back to the airport by 6. I'm like, do you sleep? How the fuck did you know this? Like,
that's amazing. I need that lady's number.
I was like, this is bad. I mean, I literally just got there. I got into sleep, woke up the next morning, got on a flight, flew home, and I'm like, it almost felt like nothing bad happened.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
She's saved me a couple times too. Yeah. No, it's nice to have that. That's something that I'll never complain about. What sport? Me and Dusty talked about this last week. What sport would you do if you had to do a pro sport, but obviously couldn't be this?
Like if I was actually good at it?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just say,
You suck.
what would you have loved to have done?
Without a doubt, NBA basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played basketball when I was younger, and I was always center, and I was too short eventually for it, but I fucking loved it. For me, that would be the most fun. There's so many highlights you can get out of it. You play enough games, but not too many games. It's not too stressful like football contact on the body, and it just seems like a fun lifestyle.
Can you still dunk?
Probably not right now, but if I had 2 months max of training of practicing jumping, because I haven't jumped in a long time, I think I could. I can definitely two-hand grab the rim still.
So let's say you had 2 weeks to try to dunk. What would you do?
Probably just practice jumping.
Just running and jumping, grabbing the rim over and over and over. Do some vertical jumps. Just
getting used to it, stretching, mobility, and getting used to it. Because I think I have it in me still to do it. It's just my muscles are so tight and not used to doing anything but squatting up and down very slowly.
Well, I saw you wakeboarding the other day.
I got up on the wakeboard. It's been a long time since I did that, but somehow still did it.
Pulling you behind the boat. Do you snowboard too, don't you?
I do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever worry about career-ending injuries and stuff like that, or you sort of feel like your body weight's not too crazy?
I mean, I do everything pretty safe. I don't do anything crazy when I do. I've gone snowboarding a couple times in the past few years where I don't go down crazy hills and I don't try and be an idiot and go off jumps or anything.
Right.
So I take it easy and
you're out for a Sunday cruise.
Yeah, just like a casual ride down the hill. I know I'm pretty good at snowboarding, so just don't be an idiot when I'm out there, and I don't take it risk too many times.
Okay.
That's a friend of mine that owns a bunch of businesses. He loves motocross, and he literally showed me at his house one day. Inside of his helmet, it's written, "You're a business owner, asshole." So every time he puts it on, he reminds himself.
Don't do anything stupid.
Well, because he's competitive. So you know how it is. You're like,
yeah,
he'd probably do that. And then it just inches its way up while he's on the track. So he's like, yeah, I have to remind myself I make money by not screwing myself up on this shit.
Part of the reason I haven't gone skiing in 25 years is because I'm afraid of what I would think I could do. Because I grew up on skis and I could do 360s and backflips, and I would ski moguls and ski powder, and I know I'd do something just so stupid.
Half the day goes by, you're like, I feel good. I could do a backflip.
These basic carbs are pretty easy. Yeah, exactly.
Let's just jump into a backflip now. It's genius.
No, I'm old enough to have learned that much about myself. Is there anything you don't do anymore in the gym? Just you've hurt yourself doing it, or it's an exercise you fucking hate, or you're just not worth the risk? What won't you do anymore?
I don't do really heavy straight leg deadlifts anymore because I tore my hamstring last year during prep doing that. I was being a kind of a fucking idiot when I did it. I'm going heavy. It wasn't even that heavy, but I had my toes elevated because I felt very flexible. And it was one set. I was like, wow, I was really fucking flexible at the time. Like, this is easy. I could do it. It felt pretty light, but it was still a heavy weight, and then just popped my hamstring. So I don't do that shit anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm always. I think it's interesting. I actually had a kid that asked this. It said, "Do all classic competitors train as hard and heavy as you do?"
Me?
I think, yeah, because I think a lot of people are surprised when they see you train, because you train like you're getting ready for the Open Olympia when you're deadlifting and things. It's amazing how many people are shocked with that, but it's like, well, where do they think the muscle came from?
To be fair, there are a lot of classic competitors I've trained with who train more like the late Phil Heath kind of thing, just like machines pump it out. And I've yet to meet a classic competitor who can keep up to me on strength, because my whole life I've trained with bodybuilders. Whether it's my brother-in-law or when I travel, I try and find the biggest bodybuilder to train with. That's how I enjoy to train. So I do think a lot of classic guys don't really train like that, but they all still train hard, just kind of a little different format.
Right. Yeah, I can't imagine going to the gym and not just trying to kill myself.
You especially, yeah. Kind of what you're known for.
It's the only way to have any fun in there.
Yeah.
Dusty's you've trained with Ian, so you get it, but there's too many plates on stuff. You're just you're like, there's too many plates on this hack squat. This doesn't make sense. I remember being big and real strong, but like then there's like 4 more plates on the hack squat from that. And it's like, fuck, you know.
I've seen a lot of those Dusty videos. Yeah.
Well, if you're not going to be good at bodybuilding, you have to be good at something about bodybuilding. That's what I tell people.
There you go.
Don't make me like actually go on stage, but watch this video. It's pretty fun.
No, it's good though. I know what you mean. And like when I trained with you, you trained just like any hardcore Dorian fan. Like you know, the forced reps. And it was funny. Chris said to me when we started, he goes, "Do you guys do forced reps on stuff?" And I look at him and I go, "Oh yeah," and he goes, "Oh good."
Good.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh,
That's
okay."
what I was hoping for.
And that was just
Where
like,
it was going.
I was like, "Oh, okay, this could be great. This will be easy. We'll just train. It won't even have to talk about it. Or it'll just work." So yeah, we had fun. Although that pec deck stack was a little light for you. Could have put another plate on there.
Made it hard, but the first set was a little light. Yeah.
He wound up with one like 25 rep set that we weren't expecting.
We turned the first set into cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we only put 1 plate on the stack, so you know.
You got to get one of those pegs that goes in where you can put multiple plates on.
Yeah. We only hold 1. I've had a bunch of people ask me about your tattoo. I don't know what they're talking about. Did you cover up a tattoo?
I've never covered one up. No, I have one on my arm here, but I've never covered it up. No.
Some of these questions, I guess. I don't know.
It's really hard to see when I'm all tanned because it's like just a shaded tattoo on my arm and you don't really look at your forearm. But
maybe that's what they mean. Did you cover it up on stage or no?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It's hard to see, but I didn't cover it.
Okay. What? Go ahead, Dusty. Hit him with one.
I mean,
I
don't really have anything jammed up. I just think that the driving thing that I love is the question on you said that you do this because you love it. So with that in mind, barring injury or anything like that, what's your plan on when to stop bodybuilding? Just when you don't love it, or you'll see, or how's that work? I mean, do you have any plan in your head of how long you're gonna ride this thing out?
I mean, a big mental battle I've kind of been facing since 2018 is understanding that my body's probably going to give out before my mind does. Mm-hmm. And like I said, when I'm keeping monitoring everything, when it gets to the point where it's too far, hopefully I'm at a point in my life where I can like difficultly step down when I need to for my health. And mm-hmm. I'm pretty positive, and I'd like to do that before it gets to the point where I'm forced out of it. Mm-hmm. So it's going to come up to my mind and my ability to make the right decision of not pushing myself too far so I can still grow old with like a healthy lifestyle. I'd like to at least win 1 or 2 more, something into it, but it's something I got to play by ear and eventually make peace with. But it's definitely a constant battle and fear that I live with in my mind, knowing my body's going to give out before my head does. Right.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it's key because I see a lot of, I mean, every sport, but I hate to see guys who the sport retires them instead of they retire from the sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's, and whether it's health issues or not, just, knowing when it's time to go, or guys that, because I know for Ron, an example, like when he was done, he's like, okay, I'm moving into other ventures. I see a lot of guys hang out and want to stay big or whatever it is because it's kind of become who they are. So I think it's a tricky thing people don't realize, and this lockdown has definitely highlighted that for me. I'm like, oh shit, I actually depend on this lifestyle more than I thought. Once you realize that not traveling bugs you, and you know what I mean, you're like, mm-hmm. All right. So for me, it's become something of enjoy every second of it, just in case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's difficult when it's like all it's what your whole life is, and you do get so much joy from it, and it's something you really can't do forever. So it's good to have the understanding that you're able to pull out of it, but of course, like you said, you need to enjoy every second while you still have it.
No doubt.
What's your favorite thing about being Canadian?
I don't know. Probably the questions I get about being Canadian or the assumptions about being Canadian, Everyone just assumes something usually positive about you just because you're from Canada. They like you a little bit more. Oh, you're from Canada, eh? Just like something, Every time I say "eh" when I'm traveling, people get really excited and I'll laugh about it. And it's just kind of like, I feel like people look at you a little better just because you're from Canada.
It's definitely, we're definitely the peacekeepers of the world.
Yeah.
We've played our role. I know what you mean. It's helped me out in a lot of situations. People like talk to you like, what? Oh, you're Canadian. Oh, come here.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Whenever you travel, you gotta have a huge Canadian patch somewhere on your bag or something.
Well, when I was 19 and I left on my adventure to go through Asia, and then I had a work visa for Australia, I had a Canadian flag sewn to my weight belt.
Yeah.
So that every gym I was in, everyone, just in case, maybe there's some help.
I got a maple leaf tattooed on my leg, so.
Oh, there you go.
So no one ever forgets.
Is it okay? I've got a lot of questions about the same thing, but I remember asking you about it. I want everyone to hear the story about the Thavage shirt. And,
oh God.
And where that comes from. Because I told you, I said that was like the fucking best shirt ever when I saw that you made that shirt. There's a whole bunch of comments. When are you getting more? When are you getting more? Everyone wants one. But tell us the story.
Did I tell you a story, or was it just kind of like how it just kind of came out of nowhere?
You gave me a bit of a story. Well, you said inside joke, obviously, but you said instead of, not talking about it, you're just going to fucking put it on a shirt.
Oh, yeah. So I used to get made fun of for my lisp a lot because it was definitely a lot worse when I was younger. The more I talk, the better it usually gets. Like, if I talk a lot like this, it kind of goes away. But whenever something would come up, people would make fun of me for it. So I just started owning it all the time. And every time I would say Savage became a cool thing to say. And everyone was having shirts that said Savage on it and all this shit. So every time I would try and say it at a workout or something to my mouth, I was Thavage. And people were like, what? And they would make fun of me that I can't say it. So then I just kind of put it in a few captions. I was hashtag Thavage with a TH, just owning it that I can't say it but it's fucking funny. And people just loved it and find it hilarious. So we're fuck it, let's make some money off it, put it on a t-shirt. And I kind of copied the old school Slayer t-shirt and just wrote Thavage across it, and it blew up. People loved it. So we're going to have to make some more of it for sure.
How many did you sell?
I'm not sure exactly. I think we made around 800 or something, and they all sold out pretty immediately. Yeah.
I love that because only the true fans are fuck yes.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was especially cool because when you came into the gym to train legs, you actually had a Slayer shirt on.
Oh, yeah.
So it had the same style of letters, right? And I thought
that's my favorite shirt I have. So I was all right, let's copy it.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions I had. A guy said that he has your shirt and he wanted to know if you thought it was intentional that there's an S in lisp. I was that's fucking awesome. Your fans are fucking awesome.
Yeah, my fans are fucking hilarious because they know I like to poke fun at myself. So I don't get a lot of hate on stuff. Normally they like to poke at me in joking ways, and I love that kind of humor of being able to laugh at yourself and not taking stuff too seriously, because it's who the fuck cares? Life's too short to care, and everyone just kind of makes fun of me and laughs at it, and I can laugh with them, and it's a fun. I think that makes you
human for them too, though. Then they know you. If you can make a joking jab at your favorite bodybuilder and he laughs, you're oh, so we're.
Oh, you
know what I mean? Yeah. This is a normal, because it is surprising how many people are surprised when they meet someone at your level and you're yep, this is just my job. They're shocked.
I can't tell you how many people talk to me and they're you're so normal. You're down to earth. You're a normal person. I'm what did you expect? It means to not be human. What does that mean?
It's funny when, when you were here training, there was people would come up to me and they'd be is that Chris Bumstead? And I'm yeah. And they're but he's just training here. They didn't, and it's almost they
you guys didn't close the gym for him.
Yeah, you didn't close the gym for him. He's just training beside normal people, besides civilians.
He's just 30 people.
He's training with the normies.
That's awesome.
But I was that's actually how bodybuilding is done.
That's how you work out.
How many people, how many guys had their own private gym? Dorian would close the gym.
He did, eh?
Well, he would train before the gym opened.
Yeah.
And that was what? Jay Cutler would just waltz into LVAC and just train legs, and just with a camera crew.
Yeah, didn't give a fuck.
When you're there long enough, the people at your gym don't give a fuck either.
Everyone got used to having him around.
Which I think is awesome when you get to that point where people are just I love that the gyms I typically train at, even when you're doing something really crazy, Like most of the gym doesn't even stop anymore. They're like, I've seen him do that.
He's doing it again.
He's doing that thing he does.
It'll be like the first time someone comes up, like, can't believe they see you, ask for a picture, and then a few days later, they're like, "Sup, Chris?" And then they walk by. What's up, man? Just like your friends, and that's it. Like,
yeah.
As it should be.
A lot of people asking about marijuana and bodybuilding.
A lot of people think I'm like a huge stoner sometimes because I'm like kind of mellowed out, I guess. But I've obviously, it's Canada, it's legal now. We've all tried it, done it, and when I was younger, but when I got older, I started to get a little anxious when I smoked weed. But in terms of bodybuilding in it, I know a lot of people who do it and absolutely love it. And there's been studies and stuff that have shown it benefits mind-muscle connection. It helps calm you. You can have better workouts, better recovery in some instances. So I'm all for it if you'd enjoy it.
Cool. That answered like 20 of these fucking questions. I can't.
All right, we're all set, guys.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming. I get that asked a lot.
Oh, really? You knew that was coming? Of all the stuff I could ask you.
It's like, no. I was pretty much sure that was it.
No, we really appreciate it. We had you for an hour now, Chris. Just wish you all the best. And I know it's been a completely fucked up year for everybody. So you must just be itching to kind of get some sort of, absolute focus and normalcy going.
A little bit, yeah. Now that gyms have like opened up, and like when the Olympia got pushed back, I was really fucking happy. I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't ready to start a prep or anything. And when I realized I had an extra like 4 months or whatever it was, I felt so good about it. My training right now is just like increasing, getting better by the day. Gyms are open. I feel motivated, excited to go to the gym every day. So right now, that's kind of all I care about, and I'm just getting ready for that.
Right. What do you foresee? I guess lastly, what do you foresee happening with the Corona situation and travel and bodybuilding? Do you think we're going to have expos starting next year?
It's hard to say. I'll be shocked if the Olympia has an expo. By then, I think they'll do probably a limited capacity crowd if they can. Like Tampa tried to do this week, but obviously it'll be a bigger scale. But I couldn't tell you anything about the Corona. I don't think anyone really can, because who knows what could happen. Okay. Anything else, Dusty?
That's it, man. Other than good luck, and we're looking forward to watching the prep. So as fans as well, pump that content so we have things to do while we're not training.
For sure, we'll do.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you when you get out here again, whenever Appreciate that is.
It. Yeah, man. Okay. Thanks for having me on the show and everything, guys.
Thanks, Chris. So, Dusty, we got him on the show.
We got it done. Number 50, he stayed the whole show. No, I actually, all kidding aside, I think what I love the most, and I could drive home a million times, I'd love for us to even do the clip of, is the point about loving what you do, whether it's bodybuilding or not. Because it does amaze me how many people don't realize that, like he said, you and him, like, if I would be doing this irregardless. If it was after my 9 to 5, the gym would still be the thing, the eating would still be the thing, you're still living it right now, and you have zero plans of ever competing again, but you're still a bodybuilder. And I think that's something that gets missed. I mean, I'm blown away with how many people, I hate to say this, but in my opinion, waste their life bodybuilding when they don't like it. Yeah. Because, whether it's for Instagram or for whatever, you don't need to do it at this level unless you love it, because what's the point?
And how he said he's like, he doesn't give a fuck about the prize money. He's like, I'd pay to compete at the Olympia.
Yeah. Well, I think people miss that all the time too, because I've been hit with that before, in a negative way. Like, why do you train so hard? You're not going to win. And I'm like, it's $10,000. You really think I give a shit if I won a pro show?
Right. That doesn't even factor in.
That's not even in my brain. And if it was, I'd be, if I'm worried about fighting for my life and spending $8,000 to make 10, I got a little bit of a problem anyways.
You know what else? And I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but it was just my mentality. And this is back when I didn't even have money. I was a bouncer when I was young, getting ready for shows.
Right.
It's not like I had money coming up my ass. And, people would say like, oh, can you believe they're charging $100 entry fee? And my mentality was always like, I'd pay $1,000. I'm on my way to, like, I don't give a fuck, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. It's a fixed cost of me climbing the ladder to get my pro card.
Yeah, and what you want to do, and I think that that's where people get missed, is there's nothing wrong with this being a hobby that you love to do.
Right.
No different than I love when, like, it's like if you like to customize your car, like, damn well you're quote wasting that money. You're not getting it back.
Right.
But you love it. You don't care. That's not the point. You know what I mean? It's a passion. It's the same for bodybuilding. Like, it's not about how much money you have. It's how much you're willing to spend on your endeavor.
Right.
When I was broke, then, okay, what are things I don't need in my house so I can make sure I eat my food? Because that's what I want to do with the extra money.
Yeah. I didn't care what the entry fee was. Like, and $100 back then was like $1,000 now.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, it didn't even cross my mind that it was like too much for an entry fee. I just was like, that's what it is. That's what it is. Done. Let's do it. Like,
yeah.
And that was just because competing was all I cared about,
Mm-hmm.
And then I also, in my mind, I would always say, oh, well, I don't gamble and I don't drink. So that's the money normal people waste on stuff.
Yeah.
So I can do that.
No, but I think that that's the key, like you said, is you're going to do something besides work and go home and save your money.
Right.
So just make sure that thing that you do, you love doing. And like Chris said, like, look at his, like, people are, like you said, you're a normal person. Yes. He just happens to be the best at what he does, but he's still living, minus the travel and fanfare, the exact same life he was when he first fell in love with bodybuilding.
Yeah. Sleeping in fucking airports.
Fuck. I gotta be honest with you, man, I'm not hardcore. I get a hotel every fucking time. And I'm out of here.
If someone said it'll be 7 hours.
Yeah.
I'd go get a hotel.
Yeah, we'll do. I mean, I'm sorry, but for $150, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Or I'm going into the city if it's during the day, and I'm gonna go do some shit and come back.
Just walk straight into the hotel room, crash in my clothes, wake back up 5 hours later, and go back to the airport.
Well, that's why I did that international flight. I went to the hotel, because what do you want to do when you get home from an international flight? Got in a fucking shower, cleaned up, changed, slept, woke up in my clothes because I knew I was gonna be smoked. Crawled out the door straight to the airport. But at least that way, when you're getting on the plane the next day, you've started over again. You're clean. You're fucking moving forward. Like, the idea of, like, okay, so I've been in these clothes for 36 hours. Fuck.
Yeah, that's the worst.
No.
So we got to touch on the big weekend, the Tampa Pro.
Yes. I number one, everything happened the way I thought it would. I was not shocked at all. First off, with the 212. I don't know that many people were in that regard. So I felt that was a pretty strong sweep. But my exciting thing from the 212 was seeing Aaron Clark back to Aaron Clark.
He looked good.
Yeah. I was really stoked to see that, Yeah. Like, it's good to see guys who people write off. And you never know what it is. Is it injury? Is it time? Is it they needed something? Is it life? What is it? But to see somebody come back and arguably be as good or better than he ever was was pretty sick. You know what I mean? And I loved watching that. And I don't even think I've ever met Aaron. I've just always been a fan of his physique, and watching somebody bounce back is awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I met him once. He was really super cool. And I remember seeing the pictures he posted like a day out.
Yeah.
Whoa, Jesus.
Well, yeah, the thing is had he said 8 weeks out that he was doing the show, because of where he was at in his career, you would be like, oh, okay. Like, you wouldn't have thought, oh, there's a top fiver for sure. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that was definitely cool to see. And then obviously jumping up from classic to 212 and winning the first your first 212 show is pretty sick as well.
Yeah, that was George, right?
Yeah, George. Yeah. And actually, I think he would have fared well in the Open had he been able to just walk and do that as well. He has got so much round hanging muscle. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And the crazy back. Like, really crazy back.
Back, it's silly. But I mean, his physique in general, like, when you look at it, it's like Chris said, like, you look at him, if you told me how much does that guy weigh, and you don't tell me that they're 212s, no one is guessing below 230, 240.
No.
You know what I mean? Just muscle for days. Plus, I mean, I'm that guy, but he's also just an awesome guy. Like, you can't find anybody that's going to have anything negative to say. So seeing somebody like that win never hurts my feelings.
What was your take on how? Oh yeah, what was your take on how Patrick Tour sort of tried to take blame for Ian's second?
I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, I appreciate that to a point, because with coaches doing that, but I guess because I know Ian, I know it's not necessary. Like, he doesn't care. You know what I mean? Ian did not get the result that he wanted to get out of his physique, and how it happened didn't matter. Just like when he put his one post up after the show, the first thing he did was credit and thank Patrick for his work.
I think it just showed that, Patrick is obviously, I mean, I haven't met Patrick, but he seems like a real gentleman. He seems like, the type of guy that would, fall on a grenade for the people around him, sort of like, and I think that was his gentlemanly sort of like, hey, this happened on my watch. I take blame, which I understand, but I don't think it's true. Like, it's not actually his fault. Ian said he was stressed the fuck out. He had tons of pressure, and being on both sides, obviously we know as bodybuilders and coaches that it's not that simple. And,
no, that's the thing is, you don't know these things. And I do think, and tell me your opinion on this, but so every year you get the new guru that's not new, but he's the new guy that everyone's going to. He's
been doing a great job for 15 years or 20 years.
And right now Patrick has got that magnifying glass. And I think that Ian not being dead nuts perfect, he just felt like he needed to do something, which I do understand, because at the same token, when he's doing what he should do, he's running with the fact that people know who he is now. And I guess, like you said, I mean, he's been doing this for decades. He knows what he's doing, but when you get that moment to be in the limelight, hit it. Let people see Ian. He wants you to. Let people see, Hollingshead, James, and those guys. But when it doesn't go perfectly as planned, I definitely respect the fact that he decided to throw himself on the sword, like you said, but wasn't necessary. And those of us in the know, like you said, we understand that shit just happens. I mean, I hate to say it, but the body doesn't always do what it's supposed to do. And frankly, like, Hunter looked amazing. He wasn't perfect either.
No, and it's funny too, because I don't even want to say that, because I don't want people to think, oh, look how overly critical they're being. It's just that we've seen so many shows and stuff. Like the pictures of Hunter in the gym a few days out, I thought he was grainier, and a little crisper.
You factor those things in, and then one thing that I saw, Chris Cormier put up some pictures or video, and basically it was. I know Chris, so I'm not going to pull any punches. Like, the 90s guys are always jabbing on the new guys as far as this was bodybuilding. And, like, the 6 guys were all awesome. But one thing I will argue to the death, they used to be concerned more with what the bodybuilders looked like. The backdrops were black. They weren't white. You didn't have fucking all these posters behind. Because I'm sorry, but ask any photographer. You put a tanned guy in front of a black sheet and then put a guy right next to him who looks identical in front of a white sheet. Guess who looks better?
Yep.
It's a fact. Lighting was better. The concern back in the day was, how do we make the bodybuilders look as good as possible? Well, the industry has changed, and I'm not faulting Tim Gardner or anybody else, but like, now it's, how do we get sponsor dollars? Like, when I see a white backdrop at a bodybuilding show, I'm just like, God damn it, you guys are all from bodybuilding. You know better.
So I got a little story I'll tell you. So in Alberta, there is a venue called the Wind Spear. And there's lots of shows there. I competed there a few times. And it's a beautiful venue, but it has a maple floor. And I always thought that it was terrible, the worst lighting you could imagine. Right. Because the light hits the maple floor and then it bounces up underneath all the bodybuilders and it fills everyone's cuts.
Yep.
And the judges are sitting right in front of the stage. So they're close enough that they're just comparing, and everyone's at least under the equal bad lighting.
Right.
So they're comparing all the bodybuilders really up close under equally bad lighting. Everyone's under terrible lighting with maple floor, and it's fucking horrible. And I remember thinking that was a huge problem. And I remember at the annual meeting one year, I said, I'm like, it's an amazing venue, but we need to get a fucking black floor down.
Yep.
Like, we need to lay something down to prevent light from bouncing back up. And I remember running into, and like, I can't even remember who it was, but it was just running into so much like, oh, you really think we have to do that? That's like really necessary? I mean, what's wrong with the floor? Like, I remember a lot of people just did not get it. Like, they thought I was being like overly picky or whatever. Like, just, whatever. It's a beautiful venue. Look how good,
Yeah.
And
beautiful floor.
and then finally they did, and they got this massive dark gray carpet that they like covered the floor with. And what a fucking huge difference it made. Like, everyone looked better. I'm not sure if they still use it because it's been like so many years, things may have changed. But I remember when they used that, everyone looked better. Like, the quads were sharper, just huge difference.
Yeah, that's why if you look at the Arnold Classic in these shows, what is prejudging? Black floor, black drop.
Black fucking floor. I hate maple floors at bodybuilding shows. They're the fucking worst. I've
done a show before where they put red carpet down. I'm like, what do you think that's going to do to tan physiques and lighting? Like, and again, like you said, yes, it's equal. But for example, a few years ago at the USAs that I competed at in 2013, the backdrop was black. The banners that were hanging down were white. So you would actually possibly be in front of a white part or in front of a black part.
Yep. Or half and half.
Now it's not level anymore. Like,
or down the middle of your body. And then the leg that's in front of the black banner looks more cut than the leg that's in front of the white banner. Now you look weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I didn't really catch it at that point in my career until I saw the picture. And I was like, God, I swear I looked better than that. And then Chris goes, look at your individual routine. So I slid over, and of course I'm dead nut center in front of black.
Yeah.
And it was night and day. So the reason I went on that long tirade is that's the other factor for these shows is they might have been just as hard. I've done that before with like junior nationals. They put extra lights down low that blast on the stage. So I've posted before my picture backstage, that one of my most popular pictures, and on stage, and pointed out to people that these are 3 minutes apart.
Yeah.
I didn't lose conditioning. You know what I mean? It's different light. So, not to say that everyone was dead nuts on, but I will say that is a difference that people don't understand is lighting's not the most important thing anymore. Why do you think everybody used to love to do the Ironman?
Yeah.
Because the light, you knew if you did the Ironman,
you were going to look awesome.
And you were in shape, it was going to show.
or like the Dutch Grand Prix or the British Grand Prix.
Yep.
Like, and I know what another thing too is sometimes the best lighting is in the shitty smaller venues because the places where they have plays, the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Theaters are black. Everything's black.
Yep.
And theaters are usually a little smaller. But if you go to like the reason that you see the maple floor, that's usually at places like where they do like symphonies and orchestras and stuff like that, like the bigger sort of style, you'll see a lot of that. And sometimes the smaller venues are better. Well, I think the Ironman was just in a small theater, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then eventually it went into the expo pretty much, but they still, Michael Nouveau, which is a well-known photographer, his job was the lighting.
Yeah.
Make it look perfect. And I think, and again, I'm a businessman. I understand, like, you got to make money. But I wish they would find a different way to do it because everyone seems to think that the conditioning and stuff has dropped so much. And I'm telling you, I was around for both. It hasn't. Dudes are hard as fuck. And like I said, I did say that Hunter was not perfect. I was pointing that out just because shit happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's still, I was in the gym. And for those who know, like, I don't mind glancing at my phone. I was in the gym. I pulled it up. I saw 2 shots of Ian and Hunter. And I said, oh, Hunter's winning. And that was it. Like, it wasn't a question to me. It wasn't close. But it wasn't dead nuts on either. And literally I said, because I've said this before, I think Hunter's going to win Olympia. When he puts it 100% together, even with the exact muscle he has now, I think it's gonna be like, holy fuck, like that's ridiculous. I mean, he's already nuts. So
what's the most important lesson you can take out of this?
Make as much money as possible and run the show. Don't be the bodybuilder. Oh wait, no, that's not your question.
It's a really big benefit if your dad was top 2 at the Olympia. Genetics matter.
Pick the right parents. I've put that in a post before. Somebody said, like, what's the most important factor in bodybuilding? I always say, pick the right parents. You know what I mean? Yeah. The and his mother.
Yeah.
I mean, I laugh because it's like, let's be honest, Hunter will. I know I'm going to take flack for this, but Hunter will be a better bodybuilder than Lee if he stays healthy, because he's got a lot of the good strengths, but he's got more height and more size.
Yeah.
You know, he's both.
He's a modern era. He's a modern era. Well, just imagine how Labrada would have looked if he would have been like 230.
Give him 3 inches of height and some more size, like
or no, just give him a modern stack.
So, suddenly, you know, he's not getting seconds, possibly. You know what I mean?
Well, just think of what Labrada achieved. I mean, do you think Labrada ever used growth hormone?
Oh fuck no.
Probably not.
No.
Doubt.
No.
You ever took more than 300 milligrams of Deca?
God, that's the funniest part, man. Is I just got a DM from a guy, totally cool, but he was just asking, like, hey, I'm trying, literally, I want to put on your kind of size. I don't care about bodybuilding. And then the stat came through, and I was like, well, cut all that in half.
Yeah, crazy.
Like, I mean, when you know what I'm saying, and then you, like you said, you go back and look at these guys.
Well, here's the sentence. Here's the sentence that he gave you. I want to have your size, but I don't care about bodybuilding. In order to be as big as you have to care about bodybuilding. You have to live and breathe and eat and sleep and shit and fuck bodybuilding for like 20 years.
Exactly.
And some people think that you can, well, I don't want to compete and I don't really care about the bodybuilding side, but I really want to have arms like that.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, to have arms like mine, you have to like give up birthday parties and you have to like not go anywhere most of the time, and you like they just don't get it.
Yeah, no.
And obviously I didn't mean arms like mine. I was not actually arms like mine.
We were making both of ourselves someone else when we were in that conversation.
I was speaking in a different
do I sound like Hunter because I'm trying to look like him?
Yeah, you know, so just like that sort of thing, like, oh, I want to have your size, but like, you know, I don't really want to like do this or do that. I'm like, well, that's not how it works.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. I'd probably try your route as well.
So what's I got to tell you, I got to bring up a movie.
Oh boy.
So last night, Emily and I were gonna have a movie night, and we're flipping channels or flipping Netflix, and I go, fuck it. We couldn't find anything new. You know when you go on the merry-go-round of the new stuff and you just can't pick?
Yeah.
And then you feel like you almost wasted a half an hour. So fucking True Romance came up.
Oh, fuck.
And I look at her, I go, have you even seen True Romance? And she's like, no. And I'm like, play.
Done. Watch. No more discussion.
Watch True Romance last night. What a great movie. I got to recommend it. If you haven't seen it in 10, 15, 20 years?
Say, long enough that I know I've seen it or short enough I know I've seen it, long enough that I couldn't tell you anything about it.
That's the fucking thing. I forgot that, like, okay, you got Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Samuel L. Jackson, Brad Pitt, Val Kilmer, Gary Oldman.
All before they were who they are now.
Then you got Tom Sizemore. And who else the fuck? It's endless. The cast is... and what's the guy that was Tony Soprano?
When you're watching the show and someone walked out, did you go, oh fuck, I forgot? Every
single actor. Who's Tony Soprano? Who's the actor?
I can't think of his name, but I know who Tony Soprano is.
yeah. So that was a really big role for him before the Sopranos cast him.
Right.
So like, this is the craziest cast, and it was awesome. So if you haven't seen True Romance, it's like such a classic. I think it's 93 that movie came out.
What did Emily think?
Oh, she fucking loved it. She's like, that's the best movie we've watched in weeks. And we've been watching all new movies.
But that's the problem. Like, when's the last time, like, truthfully, like, and not to say there's not good movies, I'm not that guy, but like, I say that even with comedies and stuff. I'm like, okay, since Wedding Crashers, what movie, like, comedy just knocked you on your ass? You know what I mean? And there's all these kind of movies where you name them back in the day, and you're like, dude, that was 20 years ago.
We were joking about how funny Something About Mary was.
Oh, God. And I was in high school when that came out.
Was that 2004? What the fuck was that?
I mean, maybe, I guess if it was that late. I think it might have been before that.
No, maybe you were.
Yeah, I think it was before that even.
James Gandolfini.
There you go. That a boy.
I knew it was coming, Dusty.
Someone was going to judge you for not knowing something basic. Because, like, I was going to bring up orcas soon just to get you back out of that mess.
Tremendous. Okay. Thanks. Anything you want to leave the people with?
No, other than thanks for rocking with us for 50 episodes, and I'm hoping I'm hoping to have something special for the 1 year as well that I haven't even told you about.
That's amazing. So I'm wondering if it's because our 1 year will be episode 52, right?
Yeah.
But we did miss 1 or 2 weeks, didn't we?
No, because we didn't count. So no, we missed 1 week that I was out, but we didn't count it as a new episode. We just dropped one. So 51 will be a year for us actually.
Right.
But 52 will be a year's worth of episodes. We've only missed one.
Okay.
Fucking Dusty.
We won't get too technical. We'll celebrate the parties we decide are parties. How's
exactly.
that?
They're just words. They don't own us.
They're just words.
Okay. All right, boss.
Thanks, everybody. Remember our Mutant codes. You go on IamMutant.com. We got Dusty20, Big Ron20. Save yourself some money. And, we appreciate everything. Like, share, subscribe, comment. 50 episodes, still going strong. Thanks to Chris Bumstead, Classic Olympia champion, for being on the show. He was an awesome guest. We're trying to get him to move out here and train at West Coast full time. So
I like this plan. Till next time.
Yeah, till next time. Remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.